Welcome to another episode of Decoded Digital Assets, Financial Crimes and Compliance. We're sitting at the table with Hugo from Cense, but we also have a guest. But before I introduce you, the episode is called Where Do Banks Stand Today? Peter, welcome to the show. Maybe a little bit of an introduction before we start the show.
Yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Compliance Champs, which is a niche consulting firm based in Rotterdam. We focus on niche topics like trade-based money laundering and crypto. I've been involved with crypto since 2017. I love the technology, but I directly saw the opportunities for criminals to use this for illicit transactions. And that's why we started the company.
All right, welcome. Hugo, where do banks struggle today? Or where do they stand and where do they struggle with?
Yeah, I think that most banks at this point in time on the board level have set the digital asset strategy. So they pretty much know that they want to embrace crypto and they're moving forward in that movement. And they're basically adopting crypto as and blockchain technologies. I think where we see the most struggle is the translations basically from the wish to be able to do crypto into actually doing crypto. And there's a huge gap between the decision to do crypto and the operational side of doing crypto.
Does that sound familiar, Peter?
Yes, and I believe it all starts with having the right governance in place. I think that's currently lacking. Also because it's a new topic and the governance around these topics always takes time.
To start off with you, where should banks start?
Well, to that point, governance, but also educating their staff. I think what I see with our clients is that most senior managers are still unaware of the possibilities with crypto, and mainly focus on the negative side, but also are unaware of what it means also for their employees.
You agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I think it starts with education, and we see that across the market everywhere, right? Education is really the starting point, because without the education, it's a quite challenging subject to grasp if you've never done any crypto, right? So education is key, but then moving forward, you have to have your governance model straightened out before you can move forward, right? That there's no way to do anything without the governance side. And then the rest of the implementation still comes. And then at a certain point of time, you also need some tech because you need some blockchain rails, you need some wallets, you need some other things. So, but that all should be within the governance framework.
All right, but many people think that it starts with onboarding. But where do the implementation really start?
You want to make sure that there's compliance by design. You want to make sure you get it right from the start. And yes, onboarding is the first time you actually see your customers, but it's more than that. It's getting the entire framework in place to actually be able to serve these type of clients.
Exactly. And I think the compliance by design is very important, right? To make sure that what you do is actually within the framework, within the policy, within the risk-based approach that the banks take. And onboarding may not be maybe the first use case that people usually see, but to be honest, I think remediation is one of the other big use cases, because at the end of the day, if you really take a look at the last 10 years, there's already have been a lot of crypto financial flows flowing into the bank. And at a certain point of time, you still need to review those. So, there are multiple angles on where the bank would touch crypto or touch crypto exposure that it can have a look at. Onboarding is just one of those use cases, but it all stands and falls with your governance, your framework, your implementation, your technology, your people, and your processes.
And how important is technology in this whole process?
It is important because security and enabling the capabilities, but technology is not the blocker. The blocker today really is how do we implement compliance frameworks in order to make sure that everything is safe and secure.
Don't tell me you agree also with that.
Well, I think if you look at what banks are currently looking at, they're looking at cost cutting. They look at the possibilities of AI. So definitely tooling is something that we need to focus on. But again, this is also an enabler for the business. And in the end, you need to have a person in the loop. So and that's where you need the education. So tooling is one of the most important things going forward, especially with crypto.
Is that also, if you could give one piece of advice to a bank starting this journey, would it sound the same as that answer?
Well, get your data right. I think that's something that is quite often overlooked.
Well, I think for the implementation of AI technologies, it all starts with your data governance, of course. I mean, that needs to be set as, AI accelerates everything. right? So if you accelerate based on bad data, you would accelerate the bad data, and that leads to very poor outcomes, right? So absolutely, technology is one of the layers that is super important to be able to start this whole journey. But I would still focus on the other layers that are currently also being implemented. And compliance is basically, as far as we see it in the market, the last layer that is being implemented, and also the current blocker. Again, technology, lots needs to be done, but is it an actual blocker for the implementation of blockchain? I don't think so. It's really the compliance side that is now needs to be tackled.
Yeah, regarding data, it's easier with blockchain because everything is already there. So you know that the data is right. So you can even use technology even in a better way